Curtis Calhoun here with MMA News, and right now I am joined by Joe Pyfer, UFC middleweight, and Chandler Henry, the brains behind the new documentary, Journey to the UFC, starring Joe Pyfer. How's it going, guys?
Good. How about you, man?
I'm
Good,
doing
thanks,
great. Absolutely. And first things first, I got to ask you, Joe, talk to me a little bit about this process with the documentary. What are your thoughts on the final product? I actually got to watch it twice already. It's exceptional. What are your thoughts on how it turned out?
Nah, man, it goes beyond expectation. Through all the interviews, I think the thing that stands out the most is the message I'll continue to say is that Chandler has developed something that I wasn't able to articulate into a message verbally, and has expressed it and kind of brought back the emotion through some of the events that happened through my life. But I couldn't be more happy with the result and his skills as a starting out. He's been doing film production for a while, for like highlights and other stories and things, but this was like the first complete movie, and I think it's stellar, and I think everybody will agree once they see it.
Yeah, because I think you and Chandler have known each other for a while, right? So what's that relationship like? And just kind of talk to us a little bit about the background between you two.
Yeah, Chandler's my man, bro. We went to high school together. He was going through his own fight in his own life, with some health stuff, and me with my own health and physical health, so just really going through kind of our own journeys at the same time, and then kind of meeting up after life had settled down a little bit. We always stayed in touch. We were always cool. We weren't the closest, but we were always in touch, always cool. And then, he presented this idea to me about, just being able to come forth and tell my story and try to connect with fans and what he thinks it would do for mainly my support system, and then being able to give him an opportunity and something he was interested in.
And Chandler, I got to ask you a little bit about the process of making this documentary, and obviously doing it about a guy that you know really well, and Joe, and just kind of talk to me a little bit about that.
I mean, yeah, like Joe said, we've known each other for a long time. And in high school, we were friends, and, in college, we drifted apart a little bit, but always stayed in touch. And through the process of working together on a film like this, we obviously become very close. Like, we're playing video games together almost every night, just hanging out. And I think that relationship helped me make the film in a way where someone else couldn't. Even when it's just sitting down and doing interviews with Joe and talking about subjects that are extremely hard to talk about and are raw and emotional. And I think that trust that we've developed with each other really shows through the final product.
And Joe, I got to ask you too, because obviously with your story, was it important for you to have somebody like Chandler who, you have that trust in, you've known for a long time, as opposed to, just a random documentarian? I guess talk to me a little bit about the relationship and how important it was to have that trust.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I wouldn't have given this opportunity to anybody else. The opportunity is also for me, but it takes two to tango. He had to have a story to tell, and I had to have somebody to present it the right way. And I think it was the timing. I think it was the right time. I think it was something that made sense, especially for where I was relationship wise with my mother and father. I honestly probably would have never had a documentary had it not been for him, period, because I don't think I would have trusted anybody else to deliver it the way that he has.
And Joe, I got to ask you, obviously, like I mentioned, I've watched through the documentary twice now. It's exceptional. I got to ask you, man, talk to me a little bit about the lessons you want viewers to take away from this documentary, and some of the things that you want viewers to really take away from it.
I guess having lived it, there's a lot of lessons that I've learned through every single event that has really shaped me to be able to deal with a lot of the chaos that life throws. I don't deal with it the best, but it's how you roll with the upcoming events that just keep knocking you down and knocking you down. So I think one of the big messages in this documentary will be about resilience and self-belief. And I've always, it's cliche, it's corny, but sometimes cliche and corny is simple but true. And having resilience and figuring out who you are is going to be the most important thing in life in general. Because if you don't know who you are, you don't know what you're willing to go through to get something. It's really hard to convince somebody else of almost what they would think is impossible for you. So self-belief and resilience. Like, don't give up on something just because it's hard, and don't give up on it just because sometimes you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So, I had the utmost belief in myself and where I was going to be. And then when that was tested, I had to recenter myself. And luckily I had a support system, including Chandler, of people that would give me, positive reaffirmations saying, hey, we still think that you can do this. And, we're behind you with whatever you choose. So I would just say resilience and self-belief is going to be the most important thing. And understanding that friendships are very, very powerful when they're true friendships and good friendships. And they're not people that just sit there and fucking support bad habits.
And I want to ask you a little bit, like, how important was, or how profound was it for you to build those relationships with your coaches, your teammates, and all that stuff when you were first just getting into combat sports? Like, talk to me a little bit about, when you first got into fighting, what that whole experience was like, and kind of the impact that combat sports has had on your life.
Well, listen, when I started combat sports, I started at 4 years old, right? So I didn't have friends. I didn't have friendships. My friend was my dad. And, for all the good, for all the bad that is kind of told, excuse me.
No, you're good.
For all the bad that's kind of told in this documentary, there was some good, not much, but there was some good, and one of those is just being able to, like, how I like to address me and my dad is that at least the man gave me tools. He didn't give me the materials to build anything, but he gave me tools, and I took those tools and I built a whole house. So I built everything off of what he gave me. Just gave me a couple tools and I went and I built the whole thing. So, and maybe he never intended for that because that 100% was what it was, the trajectory of everything that we ever talked about. I don't think he really thought I would take it this far. And, not having friendships, starting this and have done this 10 plus years before I even had a friend shows me that, then when I got friends, I had some bad friends, and then that was a really dark time in my life, even aside after I ran away from home. So then having friendships like Chandler and having friendships, like one of my close friends, David Stevens and Will Harmon, the people that you'll see where they play their roles, is just, each person doesn't have bad habits that I consider a good friend. They don't have bad habits. They're not doing criminal shit. They're not, doing drugs. They're not smoking. They don't have bad habits, even physically, So I think it's a real clean life, and having good friends that are clean friends and don't push things on you that are bad ideas. They let me do my thing. And if anything, they correct me when I'm snapping out a little bit, especially on video games.
And Chandler, I want to loop you in here because one thing that I really took away from this documentary, and it's kind of the standard in a lot of documentaries, right? It's just the importance of the interviews. Obviously super profound. Getting all the different sides of the story and Joe's life and his career and his story. I guess talk to me a little bit about what that was like to you to tell the story, and a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when it came to making this, we didn't really have anyone. Joe is becoming a star. His levels going up and up and up and up. But when we started this, he had just made the UFC. We had the Be Joe Pyfer thing. So we had a lot of steam behind him there, but I was kind of reaching out to contacts. I couldn't find anyone to pick up the documentary beforehand. So I tried to make a trailer to pitch what the documentary could become. And for that trailer, I did all our long interviews and things like that. And long story short, the trailer didn't really go anywhere. And we were able to, get this documentary where it needs to be now. But back then, I kind of realized, wow, I have everything I need to make this, because once I have that main interview with Joe and the main interviews with all the main characters of this film, I've been filming with Joe since 2018. We've probably made over 50 videos together, whether it's a highlight tape or a or a little short documentary, or I even made a long documentary him, 5 years ago, that I have everything I need to make this. So those interviews are the most crucial foundational piece. And when I am editing together a project like this, take you a little bit behind the scenes of the process, I try and make a film that you can listen to first. So if your eyes were closed, if you couldn't see, you could understand the whole story, the whole documentary. And then I go back in and add the visuals and try and make it look as pretty as possible to go along with that story. But I generally think with this story, like if you were to listen to it like a podcast, you wouldn't really miss anything. And you can hear the emotion in these interviews. And I think that's really one of the things that makes it so strong.
And you just had the premiere recently. Talk to me a little bit about that, how it went, what the whole experience was like. And Joe, you could tell me a little bit about the from your perspective too.
Yeah, I mean,
you got it.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think the biggest thing that pops in my head with that premiere is, DSG, Disruptive Sports Group, and Alex Davis, being able to step up to the plate and really take this somewhere that me and Chandler didn't know could get to, and just really like blowing our expectations out of the water. So, without him, I don't think this would be possible either. So that's why I really do believe that this is a timing thing, because the way that this has happened for Chandler, especially the way that this has happened for me, and building my relationship and friendship, aside from business with this person, alongside my management team, which is Vayner Sports and Lloyd Pearson. And I really just have like a solid team behind me, like a solid support group. If I need something, I call. If I need support or help in any of that way, that whole premiere wasn't anything of me. That was 100% disruptive. And I'm just glad I met somebody like Alex, and he's been able to help me and Chandler, and we're going to continue to put this thing out here for as many eyeballs to see and as many people to hopefully be inspired. So it's great.
Chandler,
and going off of what Joe said, I was really going to say pretty much the same thing. But from my perspective, when I was just talking about making the trailer and not having anyone on board, when I finished the documentary, it was like December 28th of last year. I was trying everything that I could, staying up all night to make sure I finished it before the start of 2023, because I knew that like I gotta try and get this picked up. Like that's gonna be almost in my head more hard than making the thing, right? Because that's uncharted territory for me. And that's where Joe's saying like Disruptive Sports Group and Alex Davis, perfect timing, right? And I believed if I got someone just to sit down and watch it for an hour and 10 minutes, that they would love it. And thankfully, miraculously, the right person saw it. And they really are, taking this to heights that I certainly couldn't on my own. And I think that a lot of other people who are even in that industry couldn't take it to the spot that it's being taken by Disruptive Sports Group. So that's really like the godsend here. Like the unbelievable part about all of this is that we got exactly what we needed at the exact right time, so that as many people can see this as possible and be inspired by Joe's story.
And Joe, I got to ask you too, like talk to me a little bit about the resources that Disruptive has provided you and other athletes, and kind of the impact that they've had in your career and life so far.
Yeah, I mean, look, biggest example is just, first of all, trusting in me being somebody like, let me explain it like this. This is a company that could sign any person that they want, right? Or have the opportunity to sign anybody that they want. More established. I'm a guy that just got in the UFC. I was 1-0 when I signed with them in the UFC. And, I already have a management group in Vayner Sports with Lloyd Pearson. I've been with him since I started my professional career, essentially. I think they picked me up at 1-0. Or 1-0. I think they picked me up, Vayner. So, I already had, this is abnormal because I've already had a management group and Lloyd Pearson and Mike Vespa and all them. And this opportunity was presented to me through my manager as a unique situation because of a trial and error period. You know what I mean? Like we want to know that these guys are going to do this for us and help make me stand out from the rest and help make me money more than the rest and really buy into my brand. Like, look, at the end of the day, I have all the confidence in my world in myself. I know I'm going to go out there and I'm going to smoke every one of these guys or go out there and die trying. You know what I mean? That's That's true. I will go out there and do my job, but who's going to do their job on the back end? Well, these guys have done that up to this point, and it's been nothing shy of, super supportive. Like in Miami, we had a mansion, they get out of his own. This is aside from our deal, out of his own doing, he goes and gets us a house. So Chandler, me, my coaches, my friends, everybody comes down. It's like 15 people. I've been stuck in a hotel every time and crammed up and fucking hated it. You know what I mean? So being able to get me a mansion, like a legitimate mansion, we stayed down there. I got to work out there. I got to relax by a pool, be in the sun. And, that was provided. He also got me a car. And then right after my fight, he's like, what do you want to do? I'm not a partier, so I want to eat. I want to take my team to eat. All right, it's on me. Here's, taking us to a steakhouse and things of that matter. So just being able to like take small things like that and make those are huge to me. You know what I mean? And just being a friend that I could call and say, hey, when I make this, what do I do with this? If I make this much, what do I do with this? What do you think about me doing this? So it's cool, man. It's let alone, like I'm telling you, this guy's success level is higher than anybody I've met. But we kind of have a similar story. So it's kind of cool, with the whole family situation where you can have a kid that's down here on the financial, what people would call success photo, and then this guy's like, I can't even see where he's at. But he's still a human being, and he's still somebody I can call and talk to like a friend on the phone, and I appreciate that. But as far as the resources, I have yet to find out how deep they are, but I have a very, very good understanding that there's not much that these guys can't get done.
One thing that I found really interesting about the documentary too is that, you were so honest and open about, your life and your career. But one thing you also mentioned too is that, growing up, you really didn't enjoy fighting that much. Like you enjoyed the process of winning and the end result. But I guess I want to ask you, like, what was that specific moment in your life and career that you had a passion for this and you realized that passion and that you really turned it into a career?
Yeah, when I probably right about when I hit puberty, when I started liking feeling strong and looking strong, and I was always a skinny kid, so but I think it was when I started finding an escape through the things that I was going through in my life through jiu-jitsu. And I would say that's when I started to develop my own passion for it, my own love for it, my own motivation for it. Before, every time I was doing it, it was like to get an approval or to get acceptance or to feel loved or, try to feel loved. And it just never paid off. So it was just me chasing this dead end all the time, running my head into a wall, getting nothing in return. There's no positive reinforcement. There's no reward. There's no nothing. It's just, you're expected to win when you win, and you're a piece of shit when you lose, and you make my name a disgrace type thing, So that to me made me hate my name, made me hate what I was doing, because my name was always thrown in my face that I was an embarrassment to it. So once I finally got to the level of like understanding, like, I'm the fifth, I'm me, I'm different, I'm not you, and I will have my own entity, my own character in this game, and I would say right about puberty at 13, 14 years old. And I started loving it. I started liking beating people's asses.
Absolutely, man. And I got to ask you too, like I asked you earlier a little bit about advice you'd give to those who, are going through tough times, but I want to get into, kind of the passion aspect of this, because you mentioned how in the documentary, without spoiling too much, is, it's harder than it looks to find something you're passionate about, especially when, you're going through really tough obstacles as a child like you did. I guess what would be like the advice you'd give to kids in terms of how to find that passion and to kind of how to move towards that?
I mean, I'm not an expert on how to find a passion, but I would say if I was to give advice, it would be, figure out something you like, but find something you love. And if you can find something that you love, then I think that'll be something that you'll be willing to chase. They say that, I don't know what the saying is, but like love moves mountains or something like that, like some corny shit like that. But love love and happiness, I think, are the most powerful emotions. There's nothing that you're not willing to do to be able to feel that and to be able to want that, like through all the abuse, through all the anger, through all the hurt, people always want to feel loved at the end of the day. And that was me. And I wasn't gifted that emotion very much, but I started to develop it in a sport that was clean. It was healthy for me mentally. It was healthy for my physical and mental health. And I understood health. I understood that doing drugs was bad. I understood that hanging out with kids that do drugs is bad. I understood that putting myself in a situation that was risk was something that could, put me in jail or take me away or hurt my health or anything like that. So one, I took care of my health. I think health is the most important thing, especially in today's world with all the shit that they have and garbage ass food, so I would say health. And then, finding something you love, whether it's a sport, whether it's an instrument, whether it's, something, intellectual books or teaching. But yeah, I would say find something you like and then find something you love and go for it. And literally, if you feel like in your gut, like everything I want to do revolves around this, I would say that's probably your passion. The way I knew that this was my passion is I say it all the time. I will get up at any hour of the day. If there's an opportunity to get better at this, then I take it and I will. And I've been doing that for years and years. There's a lot of guys, even guys that I train with, that don't understand that. I've been doing this all my life. I feel like sometimes they don't recognize that. I'm the kid that came out of nowhere somewhat, but it's not true. I've been doing this all my life.
Absolutely. And a couple more questions for me. Once again, guys, I really do appreciate the time and the answers. I've really enjoyed the documentary and talking to you guys. But Chandler, I got to ask you a little bit, like, what's next with the documentary and what are kind of the next steps, as a filmmaker with this documentary and the story?
For sure. So I was actually able to talk with Disruptive Sports Group about it a couple days ago, and I cannot say specific details, but I do believe you will be able to watch it soon, and you'll be able to watch it in a place where pretty much a lot of people will be able to watch it. A lot of eyes will be on it. And that's very exciting to hear, because thankfully my expertise lies in, filming with my camera and editing this project together. In terms of marketing it, in terms of distributing it, I know nothing, right? But we have, like we were talking about earlier with Disruptive Sports Group, some of the best people in the industry to work on that for us. So that's the really exciting part, is doing these interviews, talking about the project, talking about what people can take from it. And then soon the world will see what we've been working on behind the scenes. We're really excited to share that.
And I know you can't talk about, where this will all happen, but can you give us kind of like a rough timeline in terms of when, the general public will be able to see this?
I shouldn't say, I don't know if Joe's allowed to say anything. I'll let him take over on that, but I don't think that's my role right now.
I would say it really depends. We're kind of doing some negotiation shit right now, and wherever that goes is wherever that goes. But basically we are communicating with big platforms, and it's again, as much as this is more about as many eyeballs that can see it. This is also my story that is true. This is my pain that is true. This is my vulnerability that's true. This is everything about my life that is one story and one opportunity to tell it. It also has to make sense, if you get what I'm saying. So I want as many people to watch it, be inspired by it, and appreciate it, or even not like it. But it needs to make itself count. I would say within, let's just go real far out. We'll say under 4 months. So we'll see.
I gotcha. And last question for me.
Sooner rather than later. Trust me. Our team wants it to be sooner rather than later. Trust me on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I was thinking, just watch the documentary. I was like, man, I wish I could, share this with my friends.
Hey, if I find out you share it, bro, I'm coming for you.
I got you, man. And Joe, I got to ask you, one other thing that really stands out about this documentary is that it's not your typical start to end documentary, right? Like, the story is still being written. So can you tell us, in terms of, like, have you thought about working with Chandler on future projects and film and all that stuff, or tell me a little bit about that?
Listen, Chandler's my guy, man. I got him a couple opportunities, getting him more opportunities, and he's getting me more opportunities. That we help each other. He pulls me up, I pull him up. So we're going to keep working together. And now even more so, hopefully in the future, it makes even more sense. I'm not going to say too much about that, but it'll make more sense for me and him to work together a lot more. And, I aside from anybody he's ever worked for, he's always been that guy that has helped me. He's always been that guy that I've reached out to, you know what I mean? So that's not going to change. And I feel like we're going to be lifelong friends. And we've already had a friendship for almost 10 years now. And it's been good. And we have good times. And, he's able to sit there and witness one of the greatest moments of my life. And that was getting into the UFC. You know what I mean? My whole life's work was there. So, Chandler's more than just a friend to me at this stage in life. We're not just cordial. We talk almost every day. We talk all the time. And that's how it's been for the last couple of years. So, we'll work together, and we're definitely going to put out some more content. And, hopefully I can fly his ass up here this week so I can beat Gerald Meerschaert's ass again.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And Joe and Chandler, once again, I really do appreciate the time. If either of you have anything else to say before we wrap things up here, I'll give you the final word. Joe, if you want to go first, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Disruptive. And, we've been doing a lot of interviews, and, thank you to you for having us on here. You were actually someone that gave really good questions. I wasn't too happy with one of the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gave me good questions. You gave Chandler good questions. I'm appreciative of that. But thank you to Disruptive. Thank you to Banner Sports, and big thank you to Alex Davis, especially. That man is going above and beyond my expectation. But still need to get his ass up here so I can beat his ass up in Philadelphia.
Chandler, anything to say?
Yeah, I'm just also thankful to the Disruptive Sports Group for making this all happen. And I love talking to people like you who have actually seen the documentary, because, I've had this thing done for a few months now. So, the premiere had a few hundred people there. And I just love talking to people who have seen it, because it has been so secretive and not out to the public. And when are people going to see it? So I really appreciate just being able to sit down and talk with you about it. Thank you, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for the time. Joe, it was great to meet you. Chandler, it was great to meet you. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon. Joe, I'd love to connect at some point in the future. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon. Thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother.